evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the world of V-Gaming Junkie News! The Enrichment Center has properly incinerated all dross from the facility, so there's nothing but pure gaming-related meatiness. It is all about the electronic good stuff as we dive deep in all that's new in the various interactive virtual worlds. We'll start out with a news story that I imagine everyone cares about. You see, Neil Druckmann has actually made an outline plot for The Last of Us 3. Judging by how absolutely amazing The Last of Us 2 was, I'm sure all of you are absolutely foaming at the mouth for a follow-up. After all, Abby was such a beloved and respected character that I'm sure you'd love to be be able to play as her again in a new sequel. I'm sure if such a thing is made, it'll just fly off the shelves just like 2 did and definitely wasn't rotting on shelves because people actually think it was a massive slap in the face. Go right on ahead, Naughty Dog, you make your Last of Us 3. I'm sure it'll sell well and won't have Sony calling and wondering why their investment just burned up in ashes due to nobody actually wanting it. All the best to you on that. So Game Informer reports that CD Projekt Red execs got a big fat bonus in the wake of Cyberpunk 2077's slightly divisive launch. Now, it might not be the strangest thing ever since Cyberpunk 2077 still racked up a good amount of sales in spite of the divisiveness, but it's still interesting that $28 million was given to 5 executives. Of course, it's never the divisive one that sells, it usually gets goodwill from previous good ones. In this case, it probably got sales off the backs of things like The Witcher 3. Time will only tell if CD Projekt Red will get anywhere near that successful in the next game now that people's taste buds have been soured by Cyberpunk 2077, but it could always be worse. They could be in Bethesda's position right now off the heels of Fallout 76. Either way though, hopefully their employees are paid fairly. So here's a pretty shocking news story. Konami pulls out of E3 2021 for not having enough to show. Oh no, it's not that they're pulling out that surprises me. What surprises me is that they're actually working on having anything to show anymore. I'm sure I'm not the only one who had the impression that ever since they chased Kojima off, they seem to be focusing more on pachinko machines and Netflix shows than actual games. They claim there's a number of key projects in development, so we'll have to see what they have in mind. Hopefully it's more like Metal Gear Solid 5 and less like Metal Gear Survive, a game that ironically didn't do much to help the series survive. It'd be nice for the legacy of these franchises to see Konami actually try again, but I get the feeling they'll continue playing the role of Japanese mafia on ex-employees and producing not much of actual worth. Maybe they'll actually surprise us though. So it seems like there's actually some developments in the Epic Games trial against Apple. It seems this has sparked antitrust laws to question on whether or not suppressing competition on iOS devices is harming customers. This is The Verge's words, of course. Epic argues the lack of competition has led to less innovation and more price hiking, while Apple argues it's necessary for safety and convenience. I will say that charging developers 30% of sales is a little extreme and doesn't exactly have anything to do with their safety argument. It kinda just gives the impression that Apple is just hungry for more money and want to have absolute control, which is honestly true in many ways. From trying to funnel people into getting adapters and special versions of things by cutting out things like headphone jacks and even USB ports in some of their computers, Apple has been increasingly gougy. You can ask Luis Rosman for a particularly egregious example where Apple has gone through hell and back to suppress people from repairing their own devices. We'll see how things go. Any case against Google is obviously much less solid since Android actually allows you to install third-party apps without breaching its security, you just need to accept the risks involved. Google has plenty of their own problems, of course, but in this case, they're arguably better than Apple. So, Days Gone director has made a very heated statement that if you like their games, you'll buy them at full price. Honestly, I can sort of see why there's so much outrage against that statement. For a while now, it seems like there's less content in games at a higher premium, with content being increasingly locked behind paywalls. This is in addition to some companies wanting to up the price of games to $70, of course. Given many people's incomes, I can hardly blame them for wanting to wait for discounts if I'm being honest. It's not even about buying used or pirating, they still make money, but it's just less. Personally, I don't have much of an appetite for new games with a few noteworthy exceptions, so I almost never pay full price myself. God bless the Steam sales! And so it seems the streamer DarksydePhil has been banned by Twitch. No, he hasn't been outright banned off the platform entirely, he's been banned from the partner program. This means no more cheering or subs, and Twitch has declined to comment on the why. Now, there's a few different theories, some saying it's because he revealed a guy's driver's license to his mods on Discord without permission, essentially doxing, and Phil himself believing Twitch is afraid of his trolls. While Phil's theory seems a little egotistical, going straight to denying any fault, I'll play devil's advocate for a moment and say Twitch should probably just say why, assuming they actually didn't specify as Phil claims. There's two scenarios for this. Either they had a good reason and this makes them look bad, or they had a bad reason and are covering it up. Either way, staying radio silent about it can cause people to assume the worst. It's like when Dr. Disrespect was flat out banned from their platform completely. They refused to actually say why, which has people theorizing things like they just didn't want to pay him. Just state the reason, Twitch. You're better off this way because Phil's gonna keep claiming you're 100% at fault otherwise. Shifting gears ever so slightly, it seems Sony patented an AI that will play games for you. Supposedly it's meant to do everything from give you tips to straight up taking control and finishing things in your behalf. Now, I'm always a fan of choices if the developer intended for it. That's right, games media, I'm talking to you. From Software is not obligated to give Dark Souls an easy mode if they don't want to. It should be up to them if they want to go for a broader audience and take the time to program such a thing. That being said, I think an AI that straight up plays the game for you might be going a bit too far. Many games nowadays are already like interactive movies, and if you really want to watch a movie, you could always just watch an actual movie or watch people play it on YouTube or something. Did I mention I do Let's Plays, by the way? Just saying, wink wink. Shameless self-promotion aside, I believe interacting is the greatest strength of a video game, and not every video game should try to cater to absolutely everyone. You can have casual phone games, hardcore instant death games, and everything in between. We shouldn't demand every single game be for us, just as we shouldn't demand every book, song, or food product be made for us. I simply believe that without the vital interaction part, a game ceases to be a game, which is why I'm against this. So is there anyone else sitting on a fat stack of Steam games you never beat, or in many cases never even played? Don't worry, we've all been there. Sales and freebies will do that to you. Apparently having a massive enough library can actually cause problems for the program. Granted, it's in the realm of 25,000 games, so most people probably won't deal with such issues, but apparently it used to be a thing. Good news to all of you rabid game collectors out there. Steam fixed the issue so it shouldn't crash with thousands of games anymore. Game on, my friends, or just keep the library building up and never play most of them. Either or. Don't worry, I won't judge. I got a ton of them that I never play either. Finally, Valheim has added Hogwarts to its list of worlds that a fan has attempted to recreate on it. You heard right, from the Great Hall to Hagrid's Hut and even a Quidditch field, the famous school of wizardry is being pretty faithfully recreated in this toolbox game. While it's still very much a work in progress, it's awesome to see what kind of fan recreations of beloved properties will make it into things like this. One thing's for sure, I'm far more excited for things made by fans than things made by big companies nowadays, at least for the most part. Fans will actually try to preserve what made them special, not go out of their way to push some agenda at the expense of that. Godspeed, Zabor. May your wizarding efforts not be consumed by the forum that must not be named. As always, from the page of Games Radar, it's time for the latest batch of release dates, fresh out of the oven. Things don't really kick off until the 4th, with a Colonist for PS4, X1, and Switch, as well as Dark Knights with Poe and Munro for PS4 and X1. The 6th has Demio for PC VR and High Risers for just PC. The 7th sees Blazing Beaks for PS4 and X1, as well as The Invisible Hand for PC. The 8th has the real prize with Resident Evil 8 Village for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, new and old, and Stadia for your vampire waifu pleasure. The 10th sees Hood Outlaws and Legends for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, new and old. The 13th has Assassin's Creed Valhalla Wrath of Druids come out for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, new and old, and Stadia. The 14th starts out with Monster Harvest for PC and Switch, as well as Famicom Detective Club for just Switch. This is followed up with Mass Effect Legendary Edition for PC, PS4, and X1, as well as Subnautica for Switch. Finally, Subnautica Below Zero releases for all 5 game consoles on the same day. This week's first epic freebie until next Thursday is Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, apparently a single-player RPG. The next freebie from the 6th to the 13th is Pine, seems to be a survival game from an era where humans aren't the top predators. From my understanding, you can also form alliances with other species. And as always, that rounds out this news week. I hope you enjoyed and were well enough informed. As you probably expect by now, I Let's Play every single day, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m, live stream Mondays and Fridays unless otherwise specified at 4:30 p.m, and these news programs are every other Sunday at 6 p.m. due to game review alternations. That's Eastern Standard Time, but you can always subscribe and super turbo turkey punch that bell icon if you don't want to worry about keeping track of time zones. A like is always appreciated for those algorithms, but I just hope you genuinely enjoyed it, and that is it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Spread the video around like the fire permeating my very soul, and I'll see you next time. Capitalize on life, peace out, have a good one, and I'll see you next week.